Hi, I'm Zeno for Surfcaster Journal, and today we're going to show you how to make the front hook for a rigged eel. A lot of guys are having issues with the eel slipping off the hook when the bass hits. They can't seem to figure out a way to secure the rigged eel to the front so it doesn't slip, which is probably one of the most important part of making the rigged eels. There's a lot of ways of doing this. You can tie up some Dacron around it, build a little ball here. You can solder something on it. A lot of guys have been using putty and all kinds of stuff, and they all work in their own way. I found a way that works for me that I find to be easy to do and virtually indestructible. I think it would be a mistake to talk about hooks for rigged eels and not say which hooks to use. In my opinion, there's only one hook to use, and that's the VMC. This is a 9.0 permanent steel hooks that it's out of production. I only have few left. So generally I'm stuck with using 8.0s. I do like 9.0s on these big eels, where 8.0 I like on everything else, but 8.0 works just as fine. They're heavy, they give you a lot of weight on your eels when adding to the casting distance, solid bob, hook up, not a problem. All right, now Roger in another video, he said using a small nut to put onto the shank of the hook and then epoxy it with a clear epoxy over it, and this will hold the hook, this will hold the head of your eel in place when you rig it. The first thing that you want to do is you want to take the pliers and close this loop over here. All right, you want to close it down so the Dacron can't slip when you tie it later. That's the first thing. The second thing is you want to put epoxy on here. Now Roger likes to use clear epoxy, put a little dab on it, and he finds that to be just fine. I don't disagree with him. I don't use it that way. What I use is this thing called a metal concrete 5-minute epoxy. It's a simple process. You take your epoxy, you mix it up, then you add epoxy on a shank of the hook, you slide the nut where you want it to position, and then what I like to do is I like to goop the epoxy on top of the whole nut. You can also use epoxy to fill in a gap if you have a gap between a hook bend and a shank, so that way you close that up completely. What I like to do is I like to build, if there's any excess buildup, towards the back side of the hook, and you'll see why now. When I hang these hooks, I hang them upside down, so the natural weight of the epoxy is going to draw towards the bottom, and there's a reason for that. When you're rigging an eel and you attach the head over this nut, what you want is that little bob that you created by letting that thing set itself. You want that little bob to actually act as a stopper, so it's like an extra gap measure. So what you do is you put an eel on a hook, you thread it over the nut, and now you're going to close here. You're going to use the wax to close the mouth over this, and when you close it hard enough, that little point in the whole nut is going to act as a stop, and this will, there's no way that this hook is going to come off now unless the whole head breaks. I just like to add another thing as a safety in the back here. Some people do, some people don't, but this is a very quick and effective way to make a very good hook for the rigged eels. And you can move this thing on the size of your eels that you have up and down the shank. The nut, you can go a little further, or you know, if you have a small eels, you probably want to go a little bit closer. But it works either way, and it's bulletproof, effective, and you cannot break it.